Okay, I'm going to give it just 5 more minutes to see who else signs into the session. Right now we already have a couple, and then I'll kick off at about 1:05. Okay, I see we got one more just joined us. Who's that? All right. Nonetheless, without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and start shortly after 1 o'clock. And welcome to the Million Mentors webinar series. If you're unable to hear me for any reason, feel free to chime in and tell me to increase the volume or turn it down or whatever that is, whatever the case may be. But as you see, you can now reach out to us during this webinar on Twitter. Hold on a second, I got a message coming in here.
Jabari Jackson.
Okay, I see Jabari. Let me check this message here. Okay, Ameer's battling technical difficulty. Okay, yeah. I hope to get Ameer in here because he always brings a great deal of insight. But yeah, we'll just go ahead and continue on until he gets in. And Jabari, that's you out there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're just kicking off. We already have a few people dialed in via telephone and a couple on the webinar. So this is going to be open discussion, so feel free to chime in if need be. As of right now, mute your mics if you're not talking and just unmute them when you're talking so we don't get any of that web ambiance out there. But you see the Twitter site if you want to ask a question, and we'll check those at the end and answer as many questions as we can before we go over time. And there's also the email, and then there's also www.millionmentorsmarch.org. Today we're going to be talking about accountability. Hopefully Martise Jackson will log in here soon because he was the one who suggested that we talk about accountability. And accountability is a very broad topic when it comes to many aspects of life. We're going to try and break that out into a couple different categories. And so last seminar we talked about giving clear guidance, and we also talked about building and making resilience in our youth. That's Denise. Welcome. I see you. I can hear you, Denise.
I need to mute myself. I want to be a part of it, but we're at the lake.
Okay, I'll go ahead and I'll mute it for you.
Thank you.
So what you can do is okay, so you're muted now, so just chime in if you need to by just unmuting yourself, and then I'll mute you again. And I see a lot more people are joining in But basically, we have people here to give insight, but myself and Jabari will facilitate the discussion by driving it in a certain direction. But the topic mainly came up because Martise Jackson stumbled across an awesome video, and I'm going to share a similar video since that one was taken down so that we can go ahead and get started. And we hope to gain some insight from those folks that are out there, and also to share a little bit of our thought processes concerning the topic of accountability in general. Okay, basically, by the end of this, we'll hope that you guys will understand what accountability is and why it's important. And as a learning vignette, we're just going to kick off and we're going to watch a couple videos real quick. But we've broken down accountability into basically 4 areas, although 2 fall under community. But that's personal accountability, and then there's accountability for our brethren and our sisters, and that falls into community. And then there's also public accountability, and our responsibility towards society and society's responsibility towards us all in the same. So before we go any further, I'm going to ask a couple questions. Who made you or me the overseer of all black people, to try and hold somebody accountable? That's just something to think about. And then another question is the problem crabism or the water? And I know you don't know what that means yet, but we'll get into that in a second. So I'm going to go ahead and play a couple videos. Really short. Okay.
Crazy person like that, okay? The reason why I'm giving you a couple of dollars is because I don't want you walking around with those guns. See them guns right there? That can get you caught up. Ain't nobody know about you. The police see you. He'll take them guns away from you, or he'll try to shoot you. So let me give you a couple of dollars to get off these streets. Here. Do me a favor. Take me in the house. Because you know what? You ain't been watching the TV. A handsome young brother like you can get shot for no reason at all. You hear me? So please take them in the house. You gonna do that for me? Because I drive around all the time. Y'all gonna play by your door, but don't play in front of. Don't play out here on the streets, okay? Not with those guns, okay? I don't care if they are fake, because some people don't think they fake, okay? All right, y'all take care.
Okay, was everybody able to see or at least hear the video? Because we're going to talk about it for a second. Let me unmute so folks can talk if you don't know how to do it. I know everybody's new to this interface. Okay, was everybody able to see or at least hear that video?
Yes, I saw it.
Okay, any thoughts on that? To me, the brother was doing a good thing. He was showing some accountability for those young men that he saw out with playing with toy guns. And everybody knows about what happened to Ameer Weston. But any thoughts from abroad on that?
I agree with you in the sense of that was the right thing to do. He could have easily walked by and just simply ignored these young men or these young boys playing with toys. Toys have become so realistic, it's hard to decipher. So by him making them aware that they were toys and how society views them and what they are playing with, he prevented them from being a part of the statistics of the next black man shot by playing with a toy.
Absolutely, and I agree with you 100%, okay? And any other thoughts on that before I go to the next video? Okay, I'm going to mute everybody, and then I'm going to play the next video, and then we'll go into...
So you just gotta take the weight. Like what's happening now?
What do you mean? Who's gonna take the weight?
The weight, like a lot of these leaders and the movement, a lot of people think this is fair. Like a lot of people don't want to. Like there was a case last week. This half black woman was suing her university.
Well, black folks are sometimes worse than white folks. A nigga got a right to be crazy, huh? A nigga got a right to be crazy. You act like we don't have a right to be crazy, huh? I have a right to sell drugs, huh? I have a right to be gay. So you black folks sitting around talking about the youngsters with these pants below their butt. Who gave you the power to be the overseer of niggas? Huh? I remember when I was a little boy, we didn't have TV. Big bulletin, talking about this big crime that happened. First thing my Christian mama said, I hope it wasn't a Negro. Well, who do you hope it was, Mama? A Jew? A Chinese? Huh? I didn't hear the Christian thing come out of you, Mama. I hope it didn't happen. Well, this is a game. And these youngsters, thank God these youngsters, they don't give a damn about what old black folks think. Huh? They couldn't care less. You hear about, black folks is like a bunch of crabs in a pot of hot water. Once one gets to the top, they pull them down. That's the water that's making them do that, nigga. It ain't the crabism. Now y'all come with that old foggy bullshit. That's why they stop listening to you. They don't give a damn. Bitches and hoes, all these black folks is mad. They didn't get mad at James Brown when he's in shaking the money maker. What's the money?
Okay, that's Brother Dick Gregory. I'm going to fast forward here a second to another part. Here's the question. Do you have to mute your phones? You don't have to mute them. And whenever you want to talk, you can mute and unmute. But you don't have to. I don't hear any problem now with anybody's phones. But here's the last part of that video where I think it's important.
It looks like something in the zoo. You know, where this thing is going. When you tell me, your son, how some perverted love you got for me, that you got to be twice as smart as a white person. Children don't hear what you mean, they hear what you say. Do you know what a violation it is when you teach me, your son? You're going out for a weekend, bunch of white racist cops out there. Just they stop you, just behave, talk slower, put your hands on them. Anytime you teach me to respect filth, you make me think there's something wrong with me.
Okay. Now, okay, I just unmuted everyone. And that's another side of accountability by Dick Gregory. You know, is the problem the crabism or is the problem the water? You got this young man out here playing with toy guns, and we have to tell this young man, hey, don't play. Don't be a child. Don't do this, or something might happen to you. Is the problem the young man, or is the problem society at large? That's the true question as we go into accountability. Now, before we move forward, are there any more thoughts or any thoughts out there about what Dick Gregory was saying?
I would have to say it was hard to hear him.
Okay.
So I would love to rewatch that, maybe send the link to us later on, just to watch it and then maybe post some thoughts and views on it. But it was hard for me to hear it. Okay,
I'll definitely post some thoughts and views on it, and I'll recap what he said since it was hard for people to hear. What Dick Gregory was saying is that black people are always calling one another crabs in the basket when it's not necessarily the nature of the crab that's making them pull one another down. It's the heat from the water. And he was saying also that he feels it's perverted for a father to tell his son, you have to be twice as smart as a white man to live in this world, or whenever you pulled over by the cops, be respectful, be quiet, be docile, answer his questions, or you might get hurt. He makes them. He's saying that makes a child thinks that there's something wrong with them versus why the cop isn't showing them respect and dignity as a human being to begin with. And that's where the question came from: is the problem crabism, meaning the nature of a black person and how we carry ourselves in society, or is the problem the water, the heat that's causing the crabs to pull one another down, or in other words, is the problem society and the way they treat us? That's what Mr. Dick Gregory was saying. And I'll publish those links again on the site so you guys can watch the video again on your own and post your thoughts on it. But you know, that brings us to this chart here that we're looking at. And feel free to chime in, but what we've done is we've broken down accountability into a matrix of 4 puzzle pieces, so to speak, that make a complete square. And basically, it starts out with personal accountability, which is basically, responsibility for ourselves and our own actions, being competent and following through with our obligations. And then there's accountability for our friends. Are you or am I my brother and my sister's keeper? Am I going to keep him or her honest? And I have to say thanks before we move past that to all those that write in when I post something onto the mentorship social media sites that's kind of crazy or off key or off canter. Lots of guys reach out and say, hey, I don't think that was a good idea, or hey, did you check this? And that's the kind of friendship and accountability for our friends that helps this thing to be a successful site. And in other areas of life, I try to keep good people around me as well. So before we move past that, just a quick thanks because I think that helps round out the site. But that's another aspect of accountability for friends. And then there's community accountability. Not to say that we don't have a complete code of ethics now. There is one, could use some work, and people are doing pretty well for the most part, if you ask me. You got folks waking up, being conscious and being accountable for themselves, being accountable for their friends, and holding the community to a certain standard. But there is work to do there in these areas. But what community accountability is just establishing and upholding and abiding by community standards. There was one young man who posted a video on social media a couple weeks ago about snitching. Why within the black community we feel like we have to turn the other cheek when somebody commits a crime. They do that nowhere else, and he drew out the differences between being a witness and being a snitch. And I'm gonna talk about that difference real quick before I move on. A witness is someone who saw somebody do something bad in their neighborhood, and you being a witness, you should report it, and you should call the cops to keep your neighborhood clean and safe for yourself and for your children. But a snitch is someone who, okay, me and you, we're going to rob a bank. I got caught, you didn't get caught, but I'm going to go tell on you. There's a difference, So it's not snitching when you go out and report a crime that you saw that you took no part in. You didn't volunteer to be a part of that. It's not, and those are the types of things as far as establishing and upholding a community code of ethics that we should work on. But we're not going to focus on those right now. We're going to focus on public accountability. And by all means, you guys chime in and say your thoughts here because, my way isn't the only way, and I'm not the overseer of Negroes, like Dick Gregory said. But public accountability, this is a difficult one. This is society's responsibility to us and ours to society. We have a responsibility to be good law-abiding citizens, no doubt. But where the problem is how do we hold society accountable for the way that they treat us? Why can't our children play out in the street with toys that they create? You got the NRA and all these guys who, they promote gun ownership, but there's a problem when a black child is playing with something that looks like a gun. They could end up getting shot. And the list goes on and on. The way we're treated by society, okay? And I'm going to ask a question. And I got a couple of pictures here off to the side. Would it be safe to say out and abroad that professional football players and professional basketball players, black athletes, would it be fair to say that they are treated fairly for the most part within their organizations? I'll defer to the group for an answer to that.
That's the one. I'm not sure about within their particular organization. I guess I would say yes. But as far as society as a whole, oh yeah, they most definitely are treated fairly.
Okay, society as a whole, and but not necessarily within the organization. Well, will it be fair? I'll rephrase the question. Will it be fair to say that these organizations understand the value of black athletes? Just looking at these two pictures.
Oh, yes, definitely. They understand the value of the black athlete. They understand the when we look at the athlete, if one of them fails a urinalysis or a drug test, the organization protects that athlete. If one is suspected of something, he's not always presumed guilty. He's presumed innocent at first. We see that consistently with athletes. You see third and fourth time offenders. So to answer your question, if that athlete has some type of potential to make that team better, you best believe that they're looking out for the best interest of the athlete.
Okay, that's pretty good perspective. And I'm gonna throw up another.
I would have to disagree just a little bit. I don't know if any of you have watched the Iverson story.
Yeah.
When he was considered bad, even though he didn't participate in the actions that took place at that bowling alley, he was traded. He was looked down upon. So I have to slightly disagree with the gentleman that was just speaking, because they don't stick up for their own. And he had great potential.
Yeah.
It was somebody that saw something in him outside of his talent that gave him a shot. If it wasn't for that, he would have not been AI, the answer, whatever you want to call him. So I don't think we take care of our black athletes like we do our white athletes.
Okay.
All right. To comment to that response, he had not signed an NBA contract at that time. The question was, does the athlete own the contract, own the payroll? Does the organization treat the athlete with respect? Because we got a lot of people with the potential of Allen Iverson who will never make it to even sign the contract. We're talking about once they get onto the team. When we look at the society, before Allen Iverson becomes Allen Iverson, we got to make sure we protect him until he can get onto the court at the NBA.
But even after he signed and he was with the Sixers, and right before he was a free agent and no one would sign him, I don't remember exactly what was going on in his life, but they chalked it up to his daughter being sick and various other things. But it was his image and his reputation that had him in that position. Him missing practices and the press conference that was held and just various other little things, minute things. He never failed a drug test. He never failed. He wasn't taking steroids. He wasn't doing anything illegal, but he was looked down upon.
Yeah, I agree with you, Denise, when it comes to the treatment of Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson, I think he's one of those anomalies where he wasn't treated fairly, and he was definitely taken out of context many times by the media. I saw the complete interview when he was talking about practice, and they edited out a lot of what he was saying about his friend being murdered the same week of that conference, and why he was upset and why he actually missed practice, and about how he leaves it on the court. And the media, they left all of that context out, and they focused on him saying, we're talking about practice here. You know, why I don't show up to practice. And, you know, I'm going through all these things in life. They left out all of the meat, and they presented him to the public in that bad light. But I think that one's worth a lot more investigation, and I truly think that his case is an anomaly that probably has a lot to do with the fact that, yes, he was a great player. Yes, he is a Hall of Famer, but he never put no championships up on the board. Now, when you're talking about a champion athlete, Michael Jordan, within that organization, they're going to cater and they're going to build that organization around that type of black athlete. Allen Iverson was a guy that they listed at about 6'1", but he was really probably 5'11", small, and he was a phenom. He was an entertainer, but when it comes to bringing home the crown, he wasn't a 6'6" Michael Jordan, 198 pounds. He wasn't that size, and Jordan's like the 10-pound gorilla. And when you look at the lineups of the Denver Broncos defense, you see 100% black on defense for the most part, probably in the 90th percentile. This is an older picture of the Thunder, which is probably one of the premier teams right now, and the starting lineup, 100% black. So the point here that we're trying to make is that within these organizations, within sports in general, I think that black people have proven our worth there. And they take care, for the most part, aside from those anomalies out there like Allen Iverson, for the most part, they see the worth. And they're careful about the treatment of these athletes. They want to keep them healthy. Now, what I have here in front is a picture of Congress, a lot different demographically from these pictures that we have above. And the point that we're trying to make here is that a lot of us train our children to be athletes. I do it myself, and I try to train them in other areas also. But we need a greater representation where it counts if we want to be able to hold society, like what we were talking about. If we want to be able to hold society accountable for how they teach us, how they treat us, it has to be done from within. Now, before I go into some, you got something?
Take something and go. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Now, before I go into some more dialogue, I just want to point something out. This is a 2015 Senate demographic. Okay, the laws of the land, how people are treated. It's written within Congress. Now, we got tons of guys in the NBA and in black people in the NBA, if you look at the demographics and in the NFL. But I'm talking about everyday life where we all have to operate. This is our representation. Only 8.9% black writing laws. These are the things that are affecting our children, how police treat our children. And then you got 7% Hispanic, 2.6% Asian in Congress, in the Senate. That accumulates to about 18.5%, meaning that the lawmakers are 81.5% white. So the way we live, the conditions we live under, these are being written and tailored towards white people. I'm just going to be real. I'm going to be honest. I'm a realist. And I know people will get mad, so we have to manage our expectations. So the question, again, is the problem crabism or is it the water? And these are the people who are creating the temperature and the condition of the water that we have to live in. Any comments?
Yeah, I got something. This one. So I don't know much about sports and athletes, but the two that were previously talking made me think. The answer to the question in my mind is not that they value the black athlete as a person, just as the military overall does not value us as a person. We are numbers, they are numbers, they're their money. You talk about Allen Iverson, I don't know much about him, but you got with Michael Vick and all the other ones versus I don't know these names, Lance Armstrong and Michael Phelps. Total difference on how we responded to them. Now, I heard on Karen Hunter the other day a different side of the crabs in the barrel thing. Instead of looking at it as one crab was pulling another crab to pull them down, you look at it as a different way. The crabs are grabbing each other to help pull out the water. They're connecting each other, make a link to get out the water together. So I do think that it is pretty much society on how they are forcing us to look at ourselves. And we're looking at each other as trying to pull each other down. And at the same time, they don't want to even put that in our minds. That's why Congress and the military and all this other stuff is full of white folks, and that's why we don't vote. They got us thinking that, our thoughts and privileges aren't worth anything. That's it. I'm about to talk in a circle.
No, that's awesome perspective, and it's the conditions created for us, the conditions in which we have to survive. And I agree with all the perspective that came together, but together it completes the picture when we start to put all these things together, because I think it's a degree of validity in everything that all of us have said so far. And the whole point is to draw out conversation, to lay down some knowledge. We're recording this so other people can go back and start thinking and seeing these things for exactly what they are. Anybody else have anything to add to what Tawana just said? Okay. Nobody has anything else to add to that, and by all means, feel free to chime in if you have something else to add to it. And what we're doing here, we're just trying to state the facts. That it takes all of these different things have to come together in order for us to truly have accountability. And where we see, based on the analysis that myself and a couple other guys did, we see a huge gap in that public accountability link. And we got a lot of guys striving to be athletes, but Again, we have poor representation in terms of the science and technology community, and a poor representation in medicine, poor representation in the laws that are being written. We gotta make a diligent effort about boosting that number, because we're leaving all of this work up to 8.9% black people within a 81.5% predominantly white Congress. We're leaving all of this work up to them to try and help us, to try and make things better for us. So, we gotta definitely create more lawyers, more teachers, more police officers who are going to elevate themselves to these positions where they can make change and affect it from the inside. And in terms of medicine, we were having a conversation, me and Jabari, a couple of days ago about medicine. You got to think about things. The nature of mankind. Mankind is going to look out for himself. And when they're doing research, stem cells and antibiotics and all these other things out there, you can believe that predominantly white medical industry is not going to be thinking about the things that affect us: sickle cell anemia, diabetes, high blood pressure. And I don't want to say rightfully so, because it's never right to be selfish, but by nature's standards, self-preservation is the first rule of nature. People are going to look out for themselves first. So if we want, to have better medicine or better treatment out there for the things that affect black people, we need more doctors. If we want technology that is more conducive to the things that make our lives and quality of lives better, we need more black scientists. These are the things we have to instill in our children. And I really tried hard to find some course catalogs from predominantly black schools. I wasn't able to find them. Perhaps somebody out there could find them. But just another point I wanted to point out, my daughter right now goes to a 99% white school just by default of where we're living right now. We couldn't help it. But I looked at the course curriculum, and I see programming language, C++, Java, C#. So they're teaching these kids to be developers. And I'm just guessing, because I never saw anything like that on my course catalog in Savannah, Georgia. They're teaching us to be consumers, to want but not know how to develop. So when it comes to community accountability, we have to also be accountable for what our children are being taught and what they're learning in school. So it's worth taking a look, and I just want to throw that one out there too. Any further comments before we advance?
Oh, you know what? On that, what you just said, here in D.C., I guess I was told they're all the same. But in my son's school in particular, they want to teach him and hold us responsible for them taking accountability and responsibility for themselves, right?
Yeah.
They got to do their homework. They got to turn it in. They got to do all this other stuff. They got to get to school on time. But none of the staff, and it's not just me, but none of the staff, they're not building them up to even, do that. They're not helping them become responsible, but it's a predominantly white folks in this school, white principal, who is an officer's wife, and that's her response to everything. If he's got to be responsible, he's got to do this. He's in the 6th grade now. He's not a baby. And I'm like, really? But tell me how you all are helping him. When he comes to you teachers and says, hey, I turned in my homework, can you please give me a status of where it is? And he doesn't get an answer for over 2 to 3 weeks. No, you're setting them up for failure. Yeah,
they are setting them up for failure. And that's where, and the fact that you are aware of what's going on tells me already that you're doing a good job of holding them accountable, because I'm quite sure you gave them an earful on it. And that's the thing that a lot of folks got to be aware of. You got to have a presence. Never underestimate the power of your presence when it comes to being involved in your child's education. Because if you leave them out there to the devices of these folks that are running the education system, it's not going to come out good for them. I see a comment here, text, not our phone. No, I guess it was nothing. Okay, yeah, but that was a good point that you made when it comes to that education. And another thing that I'm going to point out here, I like to hold us accountable also, because each one of us, most of us that are volunteering to speak and showing up to these sessions are professional people with some educational background and also some certain skill sets. One thing that I noticed, of course, I mentioned that the school system here has programming languages being taught to the kids, but a lot of the instructors are from industry, volunteers, pro bono, parents who volunteer to teach these programming languages. So we have to do the same thing if we want our kids to obtain certain skills, because a lot of the school systems, they are across the board have the same funding as the school systems within our areas. But where the difference is, what gives them that leverage is that you have more involvement from parents who are willing to give of themselves to volunteer time and stand in a classroom, and who furthermore have the credentials to do so and have the background to do so. They can pass the background check and be admitted into a school to perform volunteer services like teaching a programming language or teaching a trade. So that's where we can step up and hold ourselves more accountable and take responsibility for educating our kids the way we know they need to be educated, and not leaving it solely up to some school system to do for us. Any thoughts on that?
Yep, I totally concur with that statement.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do we get more parents who are qualified to participate? Because that's my struggle. I'm not qualified, but I'm willing to participate. But I know several parents that are qualified, and instead of participating, they just expect the schools to do it.
Yeah.
So then that leads to my frustration as to why we don't have the same as the children that have the parents that are qualified can pass the background checks, various other matters.
Yeah, Denise, I'm gonna disagree with you about you not being qualified, because I've worked around you and been around you in Europe, and I think you got a very strong leadership quality that most people don't have, and I think that in itself can be used to corral these people and get them involved, the ones who have specific skills. Because everybody who knows me knows I'm a complete introvert, and I think you're the opposite. You're an extrovert. You're very infectious when it comes to bringing people together. And I think inviting folks out to these types of forums, sometimes we can set up a skills seminar or something like that, using that great personality that you have and bringing these people in. Because a lot of people, and I'm guilty of it too, and Tawana was just saying, as soon as I get finished with class, I'm going to do more for this website. And I struggle. I'm up at 1, 2 in the morning doing schoolwork, my wife doing the same thing. A lot of us get so wrapped into ourselves, we forget about our responsibility to our youth. And I think just a friendly reminder by people with great personalities like you, who are able to influence folks, will get them involved. And pointing out the fact that sometimes these white people aren't necessarily getting more than us. They're giving more than us by volunteering their time to make sure that their school system is better. In some cases, I'm saying some cases, because I don't want to exonerate folks from their wrongdoings, because there is some degree of wrongdoing out there. But in some cases, it's them giving more. And just a friendly reminder that say, hey, you're very good at this, and you're a businessman. You're this, you're that, or the other. It would be nice for you to come speak to our black children. Just a little nudge sometimes it will pay great dividends. Any thoughts on that?
I think part of the answer to her question on how you can get other parents involved is a little difficult, because here in D.C., of course, I can't really volunteer that much. But when I was in North Carolina and it was a little more open, I think the problem is in some places you got to get a background check in order to come and volunteer at the school, and people probably just don't think that that's worth their time. Or maybe they're not going to pass a background check. But if you can just come in and, do like an hour or two without a background check, I think that would be more more useful and helpful over time.
Yeah, and that's very difficult, especially if folks can't pass the background check for some reason. I think Jabari had a lot of good insight about the Clintons and the things that they did with the 3 strikes you're out and these crimes. I mean, and it's crazy to me, not to digress into something else, how right here in Colorado you can go into a store and buy a pound of marijuana if you got enough money to buy it. But I know friends of mine from Savannah who got criminal records because of marijuana. You know, and that kind of stuff right there with the things that are on our background, it lends itself to the discussion earlier about greater representation of public office. Hang on, I'm going to mute it. Okay, if you guys want to say something to that, you can unmute yourself or just send me a text here to unmute you on the chat line, because we have some ambient noise out there. But what I was saying is that speaks towards that need for greater representation, because some of the little things that people have on their backgrounds probably shouldn't be there to begin with. Sometimes it's things from juvenile ages, and sometimes it's crimes that, they could probably get rid of if we had greater representation in the halls of Congress to look at some of these things. But like I was saying earlier, I've always been the kind of person to build it myself. If I want it bad enough, I'm gonna build it myself. And everybody who knows me will know I ain't paid for a haircut in probably the past 30 years. Well, I've been cutting my own hair since I was a kid, and I build my own computers, when I want them to do certain things. And if we want our community to be a certain way, we have to establish the environment and the atmosphere for that. And our Million Mentors March platform is growing, and if someone wants to come and give a class here, all they got to do is just shoot me a note, and I'll do everything within my power to facilitate it. If someone wants to do that, because we can hold our own classes. We can set something like that up on our calendar and do that sort of thing. That way the person doesn't have to go through the rigmarole of working through a school system that's going to stop them at every turn when they just want to give back. And, again, these things are recorded, and other people can go back and discover them when they want to. Sounding good. Good job. Okay, I hear Ameer out there, man. I miss you, man. Okay, anybody else has something to add to what was said?
Hey, Gus. I do want to point out that what you were saying is like absolutely correct. When it comes down to the desire to volunteer and the desire to do things, you have to make time for those things. And it sounds like I'm being very stern, but it's something to be very stern about. So I have a high school age kid and I have elementary school age kids. And between me and my wife, we both make it our point to be a part of the PTO organizations and a part of the things that are going on in our children's life. I've seen a sports team at one of the schools to where we had over 40 kids participating in the athletics and only 3 parents supporting the program. And you see it all the time. And this is not necessarily restricted to a black or white thing. It's part of our culture. One of the things that I think helps bring out some more qualified people for things is almost, I call it shaming them. Not in a confrontational type of way, but when the question comes up, that's when I often will ask the right question. Well, why don't you all have this? Well, if you were there, we would have that. And you're going to see that along the way in the different schools, and you got to make time. For me, I work with my supervisor. Hey, I'll stay late for this because I want to be available for that. And that's for, like, anybody. But you really have to make time. And as far as the background check is concerned, we got to keep these records clean for this next generation coming up, so background won't be the problem for these younger people.
Yeah.
For the older people, if background is the problem, sometimes we got to look into, okay, is this something in my past that I don't want to address? And sometimes you got to address it because it might not be as big of a problem as you thought it was. And I stay off for comment.
Anybody else have something to add to that before we progress? Okay, I think what Mr. Jackson just said was a good segue into this next chart. Live up to your words and hold and be held accountable, because I think that's the nuance of what he was talking about. Okay, I got a picture of Muhammad Ali here, rest his soul, just passed away a couple of days ago. But believe it or not, he called himself the greatest before anybody else did, you know. And I think that lends itself to accountability at large. Because when he said he's the greatest, now what's the next thing? You got to prove it. You have to. Otherwise, you won't be. You know, and I think he lived up to that. He showed up, because now everybody came here. They want to see, is this guy really the greatest? And I'll go ahead and be the first to let you guys know, okay, I know how to do a lot of things. I can program, you know, in about 5 or 6 different programming languages. If your kid wants to know something about web design, about application development, tell them to reach out on the site. And if I get enough people who I know are going to show up, I'll give a class on here to teach them about it. And we can set it up just like we're doing right now. And if there are others of you who have skills to offer, let's start doing it. And we're not going to do no background check. We're doing it online. All we need you to be accountable about is the competencies that you say that you're going to be able to deliver to these kids. Don't waste your time. Okay? Now, well, without beating that dead horse, I'm going to talk about this young man, David Keenan. He's a Venezuelan child who was kidnapped, and he gave a TED talk about accountability. And he was kidnapped. He worked his way out of servitude and became very educated. And he saw a need for children in Africa. They didn't have shoes, so he wanted to deliver some shoes, but he didn't know how he was going to do it. But there was a want to do something, just like a lot of us want to give back to our kids and to give back to our community. Well, you got to take a leap of faith, and that's exactly what he did. He started a media campaign at his school, at his college, before he even knew how he was going to deliver those shoes, and said, hey, there's a need for shoes. Bring your shoes to me, and I'll get them to Africa, without any idea on how he was going to do it. Before you know it, he had 2,000 shoes at his doorstep, and now he had all these people looking to him, holding him accountable. So he didn't go into how he did it, but somehow he found a way, and he didn't let himself off the hook, and he got those shoes over to Africa. And the rest, you know, you can read about it on your own. But that's what accountability is all about. It's about me telling you that, hey, I know how to do this. If your kids want to do it, I'm telling you I can do it. I can teach them to do it. Reach out to me. You know, and it's the same thing. That's what we can do for ourselves. And they will come. They'll come look to you if you hold yourself accountable, and if you use the pressure that they're putting on you to be held accountable as well. And embrace the follow-through. Embrace it. Embrace that pressure and follow through with what you say that you're going to do. And I think that it'll make our community continue to advance towards the greatness that we can achieve. And we're doing good now. I don't want to look down on us, because when you look back through history, most people haven't overcome the things that black people have overcome to this day. Any other words before we advance? Okay, this chart, just to give you guys an idea that we are continuing to reach people and to say thanks for all those that contribute their time, their ideas, and their effort to what we're doing at the Million Mentor sites for black boys and black girls. So keep up the good work, and there are the links if you know other people that you want to point to us. And is Martise on the line? He's probably not out there, but he was going to say some words about the late Reverend Joseph L. Freeman, Jr., who just passed last month. He was Martise's mentor, into ministry. And he passed away, but before he did so, he did the thing that we should all do. We should adopt an instructive tongue and teach someone who's coming up behind us to take our place. And Martise Jackson's a pastor now because of this man and his teachings. So he's listed on our site right now as the mentor of the quarter in honor of his life and his contributions to ministry and God's work and also to mentorship. So you can go there and read more. And also you can reach out to Martise, and he can definitely tell you a lot more about this gentleman than I can. And always try to lead with a recommendation. I think we need a greater representation in medicine and technology, and also especially in government, if we're going to change the water, the conditions of the water, where our kids can't even play out in the street with a toy gun. We need representation. So here's a book that I recommend, U.S. Government and Politics, The Complete Idiot's Guide. You can find it on Google Play for about $11. I mean, grab it. And let's start teaching our kids to be more than just athletes. I think we've proven our worth in athletics. We got to prove that our ideas count in shaping our society as well. So this concludes the formal piece of this webinar. And I always make the mistake of stopping recording at the end, because that's when the greatest dialogue seems to come out. So I'm going to leave it in record mode, and if you guys got anything you want to get off your chest or say or add to what was said, or even off topic recommendation for the next one, by all means, the floor is open to anybody.
All right, so I sent you a question about being accountable to society and what gives us the right to talk to somebody. So like in particular, I recently just said to my boy, when we move and we've been in this location, for a long time or whatever, and I get to learn the children in the neighborhood, I'm going to start saying something. Because I feel like right now, right here, I just take my boys to soccer practice, and there's a whole bunch of teenagers. And, I hate seeing them with their pants all low, and they just look like idiots. But I'm like, you know what? I don't know these kids, and I ain't going to say nothing to them. I ain't going to say nothing to the kids on the metro, none of that. So when we want to kind of be accountable to society, when and what gives us the right to say something to somebody?
Here's my opinion on it, and by all means, I'm not the expert. Most folks know me. I know I'm a certified basketball and soccer coach. So I coach the kids, at different age groups and relationships. When you coach, when you're showing up every Thursday or Wednesday or whenever you're coaching, you develop a relationship with that child. A coach is a figure of authority. And it makes it easier when you see that kid in the grocery store doing something wrong or wearing his clothes or her clothes the wrong way. It makes it easier to walk up because they know you now. They know who you are. They know what you're about, versus a stranger walking out of the clear blue. So I think relationships and finding ways, like we talked about, through volunteering and showing up and being a part of their educational process. Like W.E.B. Du Bois said, education is not just what happens within the walls of a school. It's everything. It's outside in life. It's at home. It's in the streets. It's on the playing field. It's walking around in the grocery store, your interactions with relatives. All of that contributes to your educational process. So I think becoming a part of the community and being known and building those relationships helps and makes it easier for you to approach those kids and not get backlash, because they are human beings. They are human beings, and they're going to want to know, well, who is this person? And, again, what made you the overseer of Negroes, like Dick Gregory said, and you're going to get that kind of backlash if there's no relationship there. So I think developing a relationship. And we need more of those athletes because, believe it or not, those guys have a relationship from abroad because the kids look up to them. They see them on TV. So we need them kind of figures saying something as well, too. Even if there's no personal relationship, we feel like we know celebrities. We do, because we see them all the time. And we get to see their personality and see them get hype, see them score a basket. So not to give a long answer, I'm sorry about being long-winded, But I truly think that relationships and finding ways to establish and build relationships, and I've done it through coaching. So when I see, my small forward out in the street that I've coached, doing something wrong, I can walk up to him or her and say, hey, what are you doing? And it makes it easier, and I'm not a stranger.
Agreed.
Someone else has something?
I know you got something, Ameer. Just start trying to be quiet.
Anyone else? I'm going to leave it for 5 more minutes, then I'm going to go ahead and shut it down.
Hey, Gus, I'm just going to say, hey, great job, great comment. Look forward to talking to you next time. Talk to you later on this week.
All right, man.
Thanks everybody for coming on the line.
Yeah, and Jabari here, he's a pastor also. I'm trying to get him to start recording some of his sermons, man, because this is good stuff. So once I talk him into that, look for those too.
I'm laughing
Okay,
man.
What you got, Denise?
I just want to say two things. First of all, thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Second, thank you for your compliments. Greatly appreciate it, but I guess I don't know how to utilize my gift. So I think I'm looking for a mentor to help me fine-tune what it is that I have to give to our society.
Okay.
And I love the opportunity to share different views on the same topic. So I thank you for continuing to have our quarterly meetings, and I think we need to reach more youth. We can all say the same thing, but if we're not passing it on to the kids, involving the kids and getting them online, it doesn't reach anyone. That's my feeling.
I 100% agree with you. And that's where I talked to Jabari earlier. I'm boring. I'm a boring person. I'm coming to that realization. So I don't know how to stimulate kids to want to come to something like that. And that's where I look to you guys. And Denise, just like you said, your gift, you're a very infectious person. If you can somehow help us to shape this thing, because if your picture is up on the site, you're part of the steering committee. And Tawana's picture needs to go up there next, too, because once you talk online, your picture goes up. I hate to tell you guys that. But you guys are a part of steering this thing in the direction where it needs to go. So if you can give us some ideas on how to make this more attractive to kids, then I'm open to them. And, I'll do anything I can within my skill set and power to materialize your thoughts and make them a reality.
Thanks, Gus. And I think Denise is right on track. I tried to ask my son and his friends for some input, but they went that crazy. They said, what grade are you in? 6. So I got 2 6th graders and a 7th grader in here. They talking about the way you can get the kids involved is talking about video games, girls, and something else. But I think what Denise said, if we could come up with something like shortly after school is out or something, and, we just reach whatever. Maybe we have to start with our own children or something.
Okay.
Make it bigger.
Gus need a camp.
Yeah, we should do it. We should figure it out. Let's figure it out. Let's figure out how to get a camp going. And we got those T-shirts on the website for sale. I don't know how many people got one of them, but those funds, we could use it for that kind of stuff when people start buying those T-shirts. Because I'll be in Missouri for the next 3 years, starting in August. So we can come up with a camp, and we can use those funds if we're able to get people to purchase those T-shirts and get kids out, and all of us come out there and have a good time and also share what we know with the youth. Because, yes, I say I'm boring, but I think I'm better in person when it comes to coaching kids. And since we out and abroad, the internet is all we have, so it's kind of hard to keep them engaged.
Yeah, Gus, that's a pretty good point. So it's summertime. Me and my buddy, one of my buddies, he has a teenage kid, and my oldest son, we go run every morning. We go run. We do about 4 or 5 miles, hit the weight room, talk about life. Because the personal contact hours are more important than anything. I think my buddy gets through to my son a lot better than I get through to my son. But I get through to his son a lot better than he gets through to his son. And it's just important that you have those contact hours where they're at with people like that. If you're on a military installation, it should be somebody that can probably bring them to PT with them. I remember when I was a commander, I didn't mind that type of stuff happening. That's just my suggestion.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff, man. Yeah, let's continue to kick ideas around. And about that the after school thing, I was already thinking of doing some kind of school books, not school books, but reading books or animated cartoon series or something like that. If you guys have writing or storytelling abilities, I know how to illustrate and animate stuff. So we can kick that idea around, but there's tons of ways. Let's just keep on pondering those ways, and as you get those ideas, we can make them a reality.
Hey, Gus, can you hear me, brother?
Yeah, I hear you, man. Good to hear you.
Yeah, man. What's going on?
Not much, man. We glad to get your voice on here. I know you had some technical difficulty.
Yeah, trying to make this thing work from Africa.
Oh yeah, you in the motherland right now. Yeah, he just blessed this session right here. I know we're doing good.
Well, those some really good points that everyone's bringing up, especially the point about reaching the youth. And one thing that we need to look towards, it's not necessarily making these huge jump to the youth, but looking at bringing in people a few years younger than us, and we use bridges to get to the youth. And sometimes we can develop our particular message when we talk to a group, a population set slightly younger than us. Then we have them talk one level down, and you can use that method right there instead of trying to figure out a grand model to try to get our message to generations that may be 15, 20 years younger than what we are right now.
Man, I wish I could say, bam. That's awesome insight. I ain't even think about that. Yeah, that is a good idea. We can start strategizing for that, in the next couple quarters on how we get folks, that one generation behind us more engaged.
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes we miss that target, and they're our bridge because they're the ones who have a slightly better handle on some of the new technologies out there.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off because I was just riding in the car to take my wife to the airport when she was going to Vegas with Denise and them, and we was listening to that Rihanna song. And everybody know I love R&B music, but what's the name of the one? What's the name of that song? I couldn't understand what she was saying though.
Work. Probably
yeah,
work.
Work. Yeah, that right there. I'm like, man, the song dope, but what is she saying? And and it's like she enunciated more in the beginning, but towards the end, it was like, okay, they get the point. They know what I'm saying, so I don't need to focus so much effort on enunciation. So we dealing with a whole nother animal with this group of youth coming up under us. And to communicate with them, it's going to have to be done in a more sophisticated way than what we probably used to. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, and I get to see it a little bit. We have young Marines out here, and they're 21, 22 years old. And I had to adapt to the Snapchat. And that's they like these small bits of information delivered to them quickly, and not like a long, prolonged stream of information that we came up on. They just want it quick, 30 seconds, and then they're off doing something else. And that's something new to us, and we definitely need to find a way to adapt to that. And I think by using those other populations that's just slightly below us, we'll probably cut down on some of our frustration trying to figure this out.
Man, you hit the hammer on the head with that one. So yeah, that's the thought process for our next quarterly webinar. How we get some folks, a generation or two right behind us, more engaged, and maybe we need a Snapchat site set up. I don't even know enough about it. I need to ask my daughter. She all over that stuff, man. But yeah, that is definitely great insight. Anybody else? I see somebody typing something. Let's see. Yeah, I don't want to prolong this thing. So if there's nothing else, I thank you guys for coming. And I'm glad we got you in, Ameer. I know you probably far further away than anybody else. So it's always a blessing, man, to get your insight. And we thank you guys. And I'll have this one uploaded to the website in the archive and in YouTube probably in the next 24 hours. And thanks again, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and shut it down.
All right, take care.
All right.